Hello, my loves. Welcome to a very highly requested Further Down the Road with Kim Krans, Alchemy Oracle. I have one particular viewer who has been wonderful in reminding me that I promised I would get this video out. And so thank you, my dear. Here we are. We are doing this video today. I debated on calling this the Dark Confessions, putting this in as part of the Dark Confessions series. But I decided Further Down the Road was the appropriate series to place this kind of review after a long period of time, because I don't think it's a dark confession that I love this deck. I think it's about how do I work with this deck? And much like alchemy and philosophy itself, there's a merging that happens, right? An exploration and emerging, and a transformation, a transmutation. And so I think that's very much been the case with this deck for me. There are things that I adore about this deck and things that I find really difficult about this deck. And so we're going to talk about all of that today. The first thing that I want to say is if you purchase this deck from a collector standpoint, you have a beautiful and unique deck. As with all of Kim's decks, the packaging, the presentation, I'm a little bit messy here with this, but the presentation itself is just absolutely stunning. So this is what the box looks like. And then you open up the box and it says, "From lead to gold, the secret sealed, patience, more will be revealed." You've got this beautiful cosmos imagery here, as well as various alchemical symbolism, featuring pearls and roses. Excuse me. Now, in addition, you receive a really nice guidebook with lots of information. And you also have this gorgeous box that you can store the deck itself in. My nails do give me a little bit of difficulty opening this up. So this is the inside of the box, and it is in the hexagonal shape. Now, this is one of the things that I hate about this deck, and I have to be really honest that I do hate this about this deck. The cards are difficult to work with from a standpoint of, and I have an unboxing of this deck, and I will put the link in the description box down below, and I share my concerns about this aspect of the deck in that unboxing, and it has proven to be true, and this does at times stop me from working with the deck. It is a large deck. The size makes it very unique. The shape, obviously, it's not like a typical deck, but it doesn't shuffle easily. It doesn't, for me and the way I like my deck to lay on the table when I'm working with it, it's very difficult to get it to lay like this. It wants to do this and be quite messy, which from an alchemist and artistic perspective, I suppose that's kind of in keeping with the feeling, which is, from chaos comes creation, right? So I don't like it about the deck though, and it does stop me from working with the deck. And I will say up until this point, and I've had the deck for, gosh, I think at least a year now, I really only use this deck for myself, for essence draws. And Kim talks in the guidebook, about working with the deck for, it's kind of a daily draw, but it's to understand the essence that you are interacting with and co-creating with as you move throughout your day, right? So I use it for that, and I use it for structuring when it comes to student outlines, if we're going to be using this Oracle deck, or even just student outlines in general, if I want to understand what's the story, what's the process that we're moving through. It's a wonderful deck for that, and I can lay out an outline with this deck for that. But to use it in a spread, it gets difficult. Now, that being said, Kim has some gorgeous and unique card spreads in this guidebook, and I would recommend you give them a go. Just know that the deck is bulky, and it's not necessarily beginner friendly or very comfortable to use in a traditional way. Like, there's no shuffling. It's not going to lay the way you want. The cards aren't going to all have like flat edges the way that you would like. It can be quite cumbersome to deal with. This is the only thing that I do not like about this deck. And unfortunately, it is a big deal because in order to use the deck, you have to be able to, in my opinion, shuffle or at least ruffle the decks, at least get things mixed up in the card order. Now, of course, you should be clearing your deck as well. And that can be tricky with this deck. And I am someone who clears their deck between each and every reading. I have videos on the channel about that. You can do a search on the channel and find them if you're interested in that. But I do clear by resetting my deck in between each and every reading. And that becomes a very long and drawn out process with this deck, making it be not a go-to deck for me, because I have to be able to have all of that extra time in my schedule in order to work with the deck the way I would like to. So, you know, it's, and this is only it's a very practical complaint. The quality of work in the deck is amazing. It's an easy deck to just dive right into and to feel. It's almost like a really great album, like, anything by Chelsea Wolfe or Tori Amos's From the Choir Girl Hotel or Scarlet's Walk, where you just like dive into the deck and you're kind of swimming in the tapestry of the song structures. And each door that you open through each song is like another realm, but it's all in the same kingdom, right? And you can kind of just be totally immersed in it. This deck gives you that experience, much like the Abyssal Tarot does. They're immersive. You're swimming in the sea of their realm and you get to explore. And I think with the Alchemy Oracle, it's like opening trap doors and falling down into the next level and then falling down to the next level, almost like Alice, right? And that is a wonderful and unique thing. But I want to be really upfront with you that you've got to be able to deal with the actual construction of the deck itself and handling the deck itself. It's just, for me, now you may have a different experience, but for me, it's very frustrating. I can be a little bit OCD with how I like my decks to lay on the table, how I like to shuffle them, how I like to be able to go to different decks during a reading if I have a specific question. I can be quite persnickety with that, and I do understand that. So I just want to say, if that's not a problem for you, then that will not be a downside to the deck. But if it is a problem for you, it will be frustrating at times. It does stop me from grabbing the deck because I have to know, I have to be able to have an extra 20 minutes with this deck if I'm going to be working with it with clients, so that I can clear it before I put the deck away. Because in the traditions I was taught in, you don't put your tools away without clearing them. That's a very bad magical practice. And so I don't do that. I can hear levity from the ethers yelling at me if I were to do that. And also it just befuddles the energy for the next reading. So it would be inappropriate for me to just stuff this deck back in its box and put it away and not clear it. However, if you are working with it solely for yourself, you may not need to clear it every time you work with it, and so therefore this wouldn't be a problem. But I need to be honest that it does stop me from grabbing this deck. Now, that being said, when I take this deck out and work with it, it is like I said, it's like an immersive experience, and I am in this realm and I am co-creating. I am the alchemist. I'm engaging with these aspects of the craft, and it feels very fluid, very intuitive, very intentional, very eye-opening, much like the Archetypes Oracle. So if you love the Archetypes Oracle, you're going to get the same level of quality, but a unique experience. This is not a carbon copy of the Archetypes Oracle. They are not, I guess they could be siblings, but they feel completely different to me in their structure. The Alchemy Oracle is one that, even more so than the Archetypes Oracle, I need to slow down and take my time with. Now, if you are new to occult symbolism, this is a wonderful introduction. Kim is completely informative. She lets you know what the symbols are, why they are there, how to work with the specific structure and the specific, how does she describe that? The specific, almost like, it's not corridors, but like she's put, each has its own specific arena. Okay, so like we have the cosmic forces, the 4 colors, the 4 seasons, the 22 materials, the 22 mysteries, the 8 operations. And she breaks all of those things down in the guidebook. So even if you're not familiar with these foundational structures to occult work, alchemical work, etc., you're going to be okay because you have this guidebook, and it's going to give you a jumping off point that is very clear. You're not going to feel confused, but she's also concise. She doesn't overwhelm you with information, as you can see. Now, and also she explains specific colors within the cards, how you know where they go within the series, okay? And all of that is broken down. I'm just trying to find, like, because she has a great, she also has recommended reading if you are really interested in diving into this. She talks about various teachers. She has a section for the terms. She talks about the origin of alchemy. So you're getting a lot of information and you're not going to be confused, okay? So like, see here, the 8 operations. She breaks all of that down before she moves you into the series. She has a whole section on using the deck. And, oh, here we go. This was what I was looking for. So she shows you the colors, the climate, let me see, the underdog, the images, and the alchemist's eye. Okay, so she breaks all of this down in how you're going to work with the cards so that you can understand, why did she make specific choices? Why did she place specific signs and symbols and titles in specific areas? Okay. So you have all of that in here. You're not going to feel confused, even if you're new to card work or new to, again, alchemical terminology, occult symbolism, symbols that let you know planetary associations, elemental associations, etc. It's all in here. Kim has been very thorough, and so you're not going to feel lost. You don't need another book outside of this to work with this deck. And as I said, it's an extremely immersive experience. It's like moving into another realm. You give yourself permission to feel yourself as the artist, as the alchemist, working with this symbolism. And you can then step outside of the finite personal lens and move out into a bigger picture lens, which allows you to find the lesson, the wisdom of the story you're currently moving through, without feeling like something is happening to you. It's more happening for you. It's more encouraging expansion or contraction that leads to expansion in your journey. So it's beautiful for that. Again, I find it very helpful for structure of workshops that I might be preparing for purchase for clients and viewers, for mentorship journeys with clients and students, for my own structure when it comes to Sabbath observances. And also in my own experience, if I want to understand why, let's say I'm having a trouble letting go of a certain pattern or behavior, or what I would like to welcome in, how I would like to experience something in a new way for myself, this deck can give you a lot of clarity on those things. Just know you're not going to pull this deck out and whip out a pull and have an answer in a minute. You need to have time and be able to really, I guess it really does encourage ritual. It's a deck that encourages ritual. So you just need to make sure, you've got that 30 minutes, 20 of it's going to be card pulls and journaling, and 10 will be setting up the deck, being able to shuffle it, laying out the cards, and then at the end being able to clear and put the deck away appropriately. So factor that in and you will not regret this purchase. Further down the road, I'm entranced by this deck. I'm also driven nuts by this deck because I cannot stand when I have one card come out like this and then another card. Well, it's not going to, obviously not going to happen here now, but like oftentimes I'll have my titles down here and then some of the cards it'll be here and some here and then here, and I cannot stand that. Again, that's a personal thing, but that is the way in which this deck drives me nuts. The other thing is that I constantly have to be adjusting it to get it to sit in my hands. Now, I am 5'6.5" height-wise, and I have larger hands for a female, and so for a woman. And so even for me, this is a bulky hold. Now, I know many of you have said to me over the years, I have really small hands. Larger decks are very uncomfortable for me. That's going to be a problem for you. If that is a problem for you with traditional decks, this deck especially, it's very wide. I'm not sure if she's coming out with a pocket edition, The Archetypes Oracle full size, the circular shape is almost too big for my hands too. And I much prefer the pocket edition. It's the perfect size. So I am hoping that she will put out the Alchemy Oracle in the pocket edition. If you guys know, feel free to let us know down in the comments below. I have not had time to do research on that. But I do hope that she does that, because I know even for me, this is a large size. And I do, as I said, I have larger hands. I have a larger frame. I'm taller for a woman. And so for me, even decks that are normally not a problem for me, that over the years I've been like, this deck is amazing. And then I get a lot of messages from people who are like, the deck was too big for me. It was really difficult to shuffle. That is going to be something that comes up. But my issues with the deck are only on that side of things, not on the meat on the bone. The guidebook is incredible. It's a wonderful resource. It really helps you to understand the structure and what you're working with. The cards themselves are each realms that you interact with and connect with. The structure of the deck is quite succinctly and clearly explained. And it's an experience. The deck is an experience. It's not a deck like any other. It's going to be unique in your collection, and it's going to feel quite powerful to work with. Now, as I said, because I know one of you had expressed, can you just share how you work with it? Like I said, I work with it to draw out a structure for something that I am creating. And in my personal experience, and I'm just trying to find, because she has some really great spreads in here, guys. Really great spreads, and I don't say that all the time. Here we go. So like some of the spreads she has, so the Essence is the single card one, and that's the one that I work with most of all personally for myself. Why am I having this experience? What's coming up that I can't see? And I draw one card and I journal off of that. Now she has some very beginner basic offerings for card spreads, but then my personal favorite is the Alchemical Union spread. And then also she has another gorgeous one. The Rose That Gives the Bees Honey. This spread is really, really wonderful as well. So I definitely think, much like the Phantasmagoria guidebook for TOV, you definitely want to read this through. You want to work with it. You want to reference it. It's well worth its weight in gold, no pun intended. So that is wonderful, but primarily I'm using it for creating structures in my work and as a single essence pull for myself that I then journal off of, have the image out, meditate and reflect on that imagery, the associations within the card, etc., etc. So that is how I work with the deck. Now, am I keeping the deck in my collection? 100% absolutely yes. Have no intention of getting rid of it. Don't want to gift it, don't want to donate it. I really love this deck. I know exactly what I like to use it for in my collection. Is it a daily deck for me? No. Could it be for you? Yes. If you don't find the card size and shape daunting, then this is a wonderful deck for daily use. And I think with enough practice, you would find a way for it to be comfortable, because the Archetypes Oracle is now not an issue for me in the way it was when I first purchased the full size edition. That was my only complaint about the deck, was the circle shape. It was so large, that circular shape, that it was quite bulky to do the type of shuffling I like to do with my Oracle and Tarot decks. But I've really found my way around that with that deck, and the pocket edition was very helpful. So I think if you really connect with this deck, you can absolutely figure out how to work with it on the daily, and it will be a deck you can work with every single day. My final thing I would like to express to you is, much like in the Archetypes Oracle, in the card meanings, Kim has different ways to connect with, explore, and work with the deck's themes listed throughout, as well as, again, explanation of card meanings and associations, and then a nice solid paragraph of information to help you understand what the card itself means. I really encourage availing yourself of this guidebook aspect to the full. As in, journal off of what's here. If there are questions, use them as journal prompts. Answer them for yourself in your journal. Sit with the symbolism, sit with the planetary association, sit with the alchemical or elemental aspect of the card. Have fun and be playful with that and curious, because you will get a lot out of this deck. So if you are interested in alchemy, if you want a unique deck in your collection, further down the road, do I recommend this deck? Absolutely. But I need to be very honest with you that there are some difficulties in the size and shape and the ability to shuffle and clear the deck because of the size of and shape. For those of us who tend to do a lot of readings, who read for others, or who like to clear our deck after each and every reading that we do with a deck. So I just want to be 100% upfront with you guys around that, because I don't want you to feel like I recommended something and then it became very difficult to work with. But if you can see past that, or if you can see how you can work with that in your collection, you will, I don't think you'll regret this purchase. And especially if you like Kim Krans decks. And remember, I did not like her decks at the beginning of the journey with her, but now I love her decks. And if you really liked the Archetypes Oracle, you will not regret this purchase. I don't feel that you will. I really love this deck. I love its personality. I love the worlds it creates. I think it's very unique. It's quite special. It has a very singular voice, but it is very friendly to understanding occult symbolism and to growing in your knowledge of this realm when it comes to structures of tarot, magical practice, and witchcraft. You're definitely going to have a friend in this deck. So further down the road, it is absolutely worth it. I love it, but it is not a daily deck for me. It is a deck for specific purpose, and for those purposes, it works well. I just have to schedule in a date with this deck. We're basically in a long-term relationship and we have to schedule date nights in. And as long as I do that, then it works very well. But this isn't a deck I'll just off the cuff pull out and start to work with, because I need that time in order to have my protocol fulfilled in how I work with decks from the perspective of a priestess and witch who uses her decks in client work. There's a method to my madness when it comes to that, and I can't give that up just because this deck is difficult to clear. I just have to schedule in more time. So I hope this updated review was helpful for the wonderful viewer who requested this and reminded me so I wouldn't forget. But yes, I do love this deck. I appreciate it greatly. I think it has great value and purpose. Let me know what you think about it. If you've purchased it, do you use it? Does the size and shape bother you? Or have you found that the content and the realms that you get to traverse with this deck far make up for the small, kind of more mundane aspects of inconvenience that it can cause? I am sending each and every one of you oceans of love, and you know, of course, I will see you in the next video. Take care.